Soft. That was Astrid's first thought when she ran her fingers through His Highness's fur. Prince Rama was twice the size of a human man with strong limbs and yellow eyes. Sharp claws extended from his fingers at will, and his entire body was covered in thick gray fur. Unlike human slaves, he didn't need clothes to starve off the planet's frigid winds. Astrid usually dressed in several layers to keep her pale skin warm. Her black hair extended past her shoulders, and she wore thick gloves while traveling around the palace halls. It was only in the bathhouse with its humid steam could Astrid strip down to her lowest layer, a short underdress that extended to her thighs. The outline of her bra and underwear were visible against the thin fabric. For the past year, it had been her job to bathe the prince. She lathered soap through his thick fur before washing it out with jars of water. The prince usually sat back in the tub as she ran her thin fingers through his fur, but for the past week, something was different about him. He was quieter and more withdrawn. He barely engaged in conversation or even looked at her. His muscles tensed up every time that she touched him. Astrid swallowed her discomfort and tried to focus on her task. It wasn't a slave's place to ask personal questions. Astrid silently washed his back and shoulders. She moved her hand to wash his lower stomach, but he quickly flinched away. "That's enough, Astrid," the prince growled, deep voice echoing off the tiled walls. "I'm sorry, Your Highness," Astrid spluttered, almost dropping the brush in her hand. "Have I done something to displease you?" Prince Rama was silent for a moment before his shoulders relaxed. No, you haven't." "Then I shall continue, Your Highness." Astrid moved her hand back to his front, but he flinched away yet again. "No, that's enough." Prince Rama didn't even turn to look at Astrid. "You're dismissed." Astrid felt her stomach drop. She bowed and quickly gathered her things, silently leaving the bathhouse. Astrid was bought by the palace soon after she turned 12. Before then, she was raised by elite slave traders who trained human children to serve galactic elites. Humans were good with their hands and following orders. They were popular as slaves throughout the galaxy. Humans aren't good for anything else, she was often told. Without training, they're no better than animals. Astrid never dared to argue. The Ramul were a powerful race. Their leaders lived in a giant palace erected from ice and stone. Astrid moved quickly through the palace's large halls, lowering her head every time that the large wolf-like body of a Ramul passed by. It was a slave's job to quietly complete all their tasks without getting in the way. Astrid pulled her thick shawl closer to her body, hoping that no one would comment on her long black hair not being tied back properly. "Astrid!" called a raspy voice. Astrid turned to see the head slave Mari walking her way. The elderly human woman was dressed in an assortment of worn shawls. She'd been working for the Ramul longer than any other human in the palace. "Come with me." Mari gently linked her arm with Astrid's to lead her away. "There are things that we need to discuss." Mari's room lay in the center of the palace. It was located behind the kitchens with a narrow bed and small fireplace. There was a small table and chairs that Mari used when talking to the other slaves. Astrid found it hard to shake the memories of being scolded when she first arrived. "Whatever it is, I'm sorry," Astrid said quickly. "I'll try harder." "Hush," Mari said with a gentle smile. "You haven't done anything wrong." "Then what is it?" Astrid nervously clasped her hands in her lap. Mari let out a sigh. "Prince Rama is maturing. He's reached the stage where he's begun to have urges to breed." "Oh," said Astrid. It wasn't what she had expected to hear. "The king and queen have asked me to procure him a bed slave," said Mari. "It's best if he has a human to channel these urges instead of accidentally impregnating another Ramul." Astrid nodded. "I see." "I consulted the prince," said Mari, "and his first choice was you.